Alright, here we are. We're just outside of Marlette, Michigan, at an event put on by Eastside Trials Club. Awesome venue. Had a lot of fun here. You can see we got a couple of streams or creek crossings. It's a lot of fun. Kind of a mixture of some rocks. So you see if you look off to the left there, you see a little bit of rocks. Had a lot of good logs. Just some nice hillsides. Nothing too tall or steep, but just enough to make it a challenge and make it fun. So yeah, it was an absolutely great venue. It rained the night before. We did a vintage event on Saturday, then it rained that night, and then into the early morning it sprinkled some more. It left it pretty good. The ground soaked it up pretty good, but in the woods there was definitely some log sections that were really slick and slimy, which made for a good challenge, especially on the first loop. But anyway, speaking of that, let's get to the first section. So we're coming in here. Very first thing, there's going to be a little stump on the ground in between the tree and the fallen tree, and so just trying to get the front tire on one side, the rear tire on the other. From there, we're going to turn around over here, kind of come up on the side of the hill. Sportsman was the only line that didn't go through, other than beginner, but didn't go over that rock. I think they did it to just make this corner a little bit harder for us. So we're going to get turned, we're going to head to the log, and on the log here, I'm just going to rock over, like not on the bash plate, I'm just going to pick the front tire up high, de-weight the rear, and it's going to let the front end go down. It's going to pull the rear end up. It's going to make it to where I don't have to use much throttle, and I can get back the front end back down, get on the brakes, get my steering back, and get myself going in the direction I need to go next. So here, the very first attempt, and I'm not the only one that tried it, but I tried, there's a marker, our next marker is right here in the rocks to the left, and I tried squeezing through there the first time. I made it, but just barely, and it really set the rear tire up to where you could actually float it on the wrong side of the marker and take a 5. They put all that section down there just to have a nice run at that rock. And of course, what do? I don't use it the first time. It was stupid of me. I should know better by now, but, there's still just the stupid mistakes you make. So anyway, just going to kind of torque up this hill and then over the rock and out, and there's section 1. Okay, moving into section 2. This one was fun, but it was just the angles you're approaching stuff and the tightness, for me at least, I was not on my game, especially in this particular one, but it was better than my first loop. This is my second loop, I believe. Third loop was a nice clean. Fourth loop, I think I took a single dab. But anyway, you see turning through here. If things weren't wet, I would have went up higher on the tree, and I think it would have to the right, and it would have been better. It just kind of rocks you around, puts you off balance. I carried a little bit too much momentum there. I would have loved trying to go over the boulder there, but never quite got the courage to try it, especially in the section. After the day, if we would have had more time, I would have liked to come back and try it. But anyway, just over the rock and out. Okay, so section 3. The big points getter here for me was this little stupid chunk of log here. As you see, this time around, I hit it with the rear tire, and just the rear tire slides across that. By the third and fourth loop, I had gotten to where I was getting my timing on the D-weight right for the rear end, and it wasn't an issue anymore. Kind of frustrating, taking a couple points there on the first couple loops. But it's all part of learning, and it was a good learning experience, and by the end of the day, I was getting over it clean, so it made me feel better. And that's what it's all about, it's just learning and getting experience right now. So, yeah, that's about it. So this section, we're just gonna, come up the hill here and out. There was once I got lost, so I actually went back down the hill and then came back up the hill. It was cool, but I just felt so stupid. It's so scary when you get lost. So this section, we come down the hill, and then we're turning tight, on the side of the hill. Not bad, but it definitely felt like you could lose traction if you weren't careful. That was really the hard part of the section. Everything else was really pretty easy. With maybe the exception of where I chose to go up. So I didn't have to go all the way to the section. I could have turned just past this tree. See, there's the blue sportsman marker. So I could have turned anywhere in here. I went all the way out. Right here, there's some loose sand in the corner, so I'm getting the front tire real careful over it. Now you're hearing me bring the throttle up, and I can accelerate once I get some momentum going, get the bike in a straight line. You just got to be careful you don't give it too much gas while everything's turned, as that's when you're going to wash out the front end. This section really was a nice section. I'm glad they removed a marker from this tree, otherwise that would have made for a little bit more of a tight corner for sportsmen, but definitely still doable. So the interesting part is I was walking this section with some friends the day before, and there's the exit corner And I'm just gonna, the way I hit it here is the way I said I was gonna do it. And they're like, no, don't do that because your front end's gonna hit the dip and you're gonna get knocked off the side of the bike. And I'm like, there's no way. Well, I watched another sportsman rider do just that, and so I was a little like, oh, is it gonna happen to me? It never did. I think the big thing is just watching your brake timing and your weight, and it didn't do too bad. So this is section 6, lots of logs, lots of slimy logs, and I had a lot of struggles my first loop, like this right here. Yeah, that's not what I wanted to happen. We had this. Yeah, I didn't crash here, even though it kind of looks like I was going to. And then even this stupid one, which was a surprise. Like, what in the world? I'm turning and I'm just going straight. I crashed a truck that way once, but that's a whole different story. Anyway, so here's an actual, I think this is my second loop, and this is a clean run for me. I cleaned it second loop, third loop, and I think fourth loop, I either cleaned it or took a one. I'm pretty sure I cleaned it after that first loop. I came in way too timid on the first loop, and you see how I was going to bash plate a lot. It's something I do, but not very often, and I just didn't have the experience to pull it off cleanly on the slippery logs. I should have rode more like I'm doing now, which is just how I normally ride. A little bit more aggressive, a little more risky, but seeing as I'm comfortable with this style, I think it probably would have been better. Here it was kind of fun. I'll talk more about that later in the third-person view at the end of the video. But yeah, anyway, this section was really just a learning experience for me to be like, yeah, you got to be careful, you got to be mindful of the traction and everything being slippery, but at the same time, you know, you got to ride like you know how to ride. You know, trying new stuff. So yeah, sometimes it's a good thing to be able to come in and adapt. But you know, I think the big thing is I would have been better if I would have ridden it the way I'm riding it now. But ultimately, I think I do need to just practice the stuff I'm weak at and get to where I have more options available to me. So when I need to be more timid, I can, and when I can ride more comfortably and more aggressively, I can do that too. Okay, so section 7, you can see it started to rain now again. This section was one of my favorite. I absolutely loved it. This hill's a little more off-camber than it looks, but kind of slippery and muddy right here. It's just really, you know, controlling the brakes and getting a feel for it. It was a lot of fun. We're going to come out here, we're going to come over the rocks. Just a little clutch pop right there and up and over. Come up here and you'll see me turn the bars. It's just because all of a sudden I realized I was going to turn on a slippery stick, so kind of just straighten back up for a second to avoid it and then return. And then we're going to just come down the hill here. Fairly slow at first, and once I know I'm pointing the right direction, I kind of let it speed up a little bit. Return tight, relatively. And then it's going to just be up the hill, over the little log, and out the section. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I really like this section a lot. Definitely one of my favorites of the day. Okay, so here we have Stacy, just dropping down the log right before the exit. We'll have more video of her later. She did a great job though. Okay, so here, we're gonna come up over this little, like, whatever this is, vine, whatever. So the first time through, I tried riding too timid here. I tried using the bash plate to my advantage, but it's just not my strong suit. It cost me 3 points. So the second time through, I came, just kind of plant the front tire on it, then pull the pressure, let the front end drop, and you know, it worked out just great. But you know, got the blood pumping just the first time. Okay, so just out, you see right here, I know I got traction, so I just kind of hit the front brakes, press the forks, spring back up with it as I let go of the front brake, and it just keeps the, it popped the front end up in the air and keep you from hitting the dash plate without getting any real speed. So this one, I came back, hit the boulder afterwards, that's why I said thanks for the help on that. But anyway, this section, this cost me 3rd place, or rather my own stupidity and timidness cost me 3rd place. So I completely missed part of this section, and that was the difference between 3rd or 6th. So unfortunately, lesson learned, just ride the freaking bike like you know how to. But yeah, anyway, it was still a fun time. Alright, this is my absolute favorite section. I think, well, 7 in this one. They're kind of tied. So anyway, come over there, over this log. Gonna move just to the left a little bit as I pop off the log. Come down the hill, which is a little steeper in real life. The camera just flattens it out so much. But anyway, coming back up the hill, I'm going to hook to the right a little bit, then turn left, go over the log. I could have went over the log slightly more to the right, but then I went ahead to go over that concrete chunk, kind of like the float, real close to it. Probably could have done it, but it would have been a little more sketchy. I wish I could take credit for seeing that line, but that was some advice somebody else gave me, so thank you for that advice. You know, still learning stuff. Anyway, we're gonna come up here, float over this slab. Love that, so much fun. And then up and over this kind of concrete cylinder. I don't know how many other sportsmen were doing it, but I know I could, so I did. All right, so hey, if you made it this far, awesome. So here's some third-person view of some of the sections. Probably not going to talk as much during these. You can just check it out, kind of see things from a different view. Would have liked to have tried hitting that rock. Just I didn't want to take the risk during the event and didn't have time to come back after. So here on the log, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Just popping the front end up and then springing up, letting the rear hit it, and just kind of gracefully come over. Not really asking any traction out of the rear tire to get over it. Just kind of letting the front drop and carry the rear over. Okay, so here, I know this is not a big hill at all or anything, and I say it every video, but again, what I love about my Vertigo, just listen to it come up, listen to the RPM. Ah, she's just so smooth. I love it. Just gives me so much confidence. I can torque up something. I don't got to worry about braking traction. I just love the bike. Okay, so here's section 6. You can see these logs. I really should have ridden like this the first time through. I mean, they were wet and slimy. And yeah, I'm taking a risk being a little bit more aggressive, I guess, especially on that first loop. But at the same time, using techniques that, yeah, you can do, but they're not your go-to. They're not what you're most comfortable with. I don't know. I guess it really means I need a little bit more practice. Here's what I was talking about, popping the front end up. You see the bike right there. See how both tires just kind of popped up in the air and came back down? So I know where the rear tire is at, I know where my front tire is at, and so I know I get lined up, so I'm going to hit both of those little branches at the same time. And right before I hit, I come down and I spring up and just give it a little clutch pop, so the bike kind of jumps in the air, and it just lets the bike roll over really easy instead of the tire pushing into it and the bike sliding off one way or the other, either in the front or rear or both. Pat Smodgy has a video on de-weighting, so that's, if you watch his video, that's essentially the technique I was using there. So this, from the backside, to me, it was a little bit intimidating. It probably doesn't look like it from here, but I don't know. It was fun, though. All right, back to my favorite section. One of my most favorite sections. I don't know, really is 7 or 10. They were the best. I mean, all the sections were really actually pretty good this day, but 7 and 10 were. Those are the ones I remember the most. I do kind of wonder what would happen if I would have, instead of letting the rear pop over those, if I would have just kept my legs straight and just trying to driven straight up over them. Guess I'm just going to have to wonder now. All right, here, I love it. Like, Stacey's thinking I'm going to over the edge, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, wait, he's coming up right here. I better move. So that was fun. It's a technique I'm used to doing, but the hill is a little bit steeper leading up to that than I'm used to, so it was fun, though. Rode real easy. So yeah, hopefully this lets you see the hill a little bit better. Yeah, the GoPros, like I've said like how many times in this video, it flattens everything out some. I don't know. Like, this was fun. It worked. But yeah, it did. I mean, it got the heart pumping just a little bit. I mean, the front end drops down pretty quick there, and like when you're going over the log, you know, you're not seeing any ground. You're just seeing like you're going over an edge. You know what? I mean, maybe you just have more cojones than me. Maybe it's really not that intimidating or whatever. But for me, it was a little. So yeah, I don't know. But it was still a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to do stuff like that more, just so I get really comfortable with it. All right. The creek section again. I'm still so sad. Really, I just wanted the freaking mug. Like, it was a nice mug, you know? I would use that mug. Oh, well. Anyway, this was just such a beautiful area, beautiful land. Thanks again to the landowner for letting us use it. Here, this is not my most graceful moment. You see my foot come off the peg, and like the bike's just turned to the left. I'm like, no, 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 go back to the right. Not my most graceful ride, but it was a clean still, barely. All right, so yeah, here's section 10. Hitting the log, floating a little bit to the left as you look at it, my right. Same thing here. See a little bit of movement off to the left then. Just little positional movements over the log. You can see that concrete chunk. So that's what I was talking about. If I would have come up more to the right as I'm coming up the hill, I would have had to have stopped real quick over that log and then trying to pivot over that slab. So definitely better advice to turn on the hillside and go over the log, I think. All right, so up the hill, and then yeah, just pivot over this or float over this thing. That is so much fun, guys. If you don't know how to do that, learn. It's just fun. It's entertaining. It's just I love doing it. All right, and then again over that. Yeah, I can improve my technique a little bit, but it was fun. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching the video. If you made it this far, that's awesome. Eastside, you guys did a great job. Great event. Thanks again. I had a lot of fun and hope to see you guys soon.